The Giants Live US Open and World Deadlift Championship has just happened in Las Vegas, and I've made a separate video to be released tomorrow. As a teaser, I'm telling you that I can break the deadlift world record. I have 100% confidence in that. More on that tomorrow. Let's talk about the show itself. It started with a max deadlift, of course, World Deadlift Championship. And the jumps here, it started at 400 kilos, went to 425, 454, 470, and 505, which is, of course, to break the current world record. Whether you want to say it's 501 by Thor, 500 by Eddie, pop that in the comments. I don't care. A heavy, heavy deadlift. Boom, done. We opened at 400, and just to go over the list of competitors and the ones who we were looking at before the show, it was myself, current world's strongest man, Tom Stoltman, third world's strongest man, Evan Singleton. We had Iron Bibby coming out to do the full show, which was awesome. He is a phenomenal strength athlete, log lift world record holder, former axle world record holder, the strongest static human potentially on the planet. We had a handful of other guys, but those were the ones who I was personally looking at before the show started for guys who could do really well. This set of events were perfect for Evan Singleton, and I was ready for a big battle with him on his home soil. Now, before I get into the events themselves, I'm sorry for being a bit discombobulated here, but I do want to touch on a couple of things. First, the crowd was a little bit smaller than we're used to. The venue, the noise wasn't quite right. The acoustics weren't quite right. The live stream from feedback was a little bit hit or miss. But this is just called growing pains. The difficulty of being in the entertainment industry for Giants Live is that everyone sees a good performance, a bad performance, and everyone has a commentary on it. I think we've all had bad days at work and good days at work. And this is akin to being put into a position at a new company that has the same job title, the same description, same role, and just plopping you in on the first day and assuming that everything is going to go according to plan. But then you discover there's a different software at your new job, and there's a new person who you might not have been used to dealing with before. And the first day isn't the best day of your career, obviously. And I think this was the case. I think Giants would fully admit that there are things to iron out over time. But by and large, I would say they produced a show that was 85% of the impact of the UK show, which is pretty incredible for the magnitude of equipment, of production, of lighting, of everything they needed to get over. It was pretty close, but it just didn't have the same punch for me. That being said, I look forward to those US shows continuing to grow. And if you are an American fan, please take on board coming to these shows and supporting. This is the way that we're going to have more, and you're going to be able to see more professional strongmen at the highest level. Now, back to the competition. We had the World Deadlift Championship to start. Everyone pulled 400 kilos. Surprisingly, Tom Stoltman failed at 425 kilos. So did Luke Stoltman. Everyone else was successful at 425. At 1,000 pounds, Evan Singleton failed. Again, this is a surprise. He's pulled that in the past two Deadlift World Championships. I hit that, no problem. We went up in weight to 470 kilos. I ended up hitting that with, I don't want to say ease, but comfort for sure. I know that there is more there. Trey Mitchell hit one of the three most impressive deadlifts of all time, in my opinion, at 470 kilos without a suit. Absolutely insane. He went from 411 kilos at strongest man on earth to 470 in the span of a few months. And that was only because he was nervous about his injury and his attempt selection. But Trey's raw deadlift might be the best in the world right now, including Thor. Austin Andrade virtually locked out 470, but took a tumble. He fell, and very athletic, actually, to fall, managed to keep his legs dead straight so the bar just rolled up his body and avoided catastrophic injury. But Trey and I were the only ones to hit 470, and this foreshadowed the rest of the evening. After this lift, I said to Laws, is there a chance of 505? I'm totally willing to try. And he said, 5 to 10%. I asked if there was a 10%, and he said 5 to 10. Neither of us thought it would happen, and the cue that we were going with was to maintain position, to pull hard and maintain position, because we just didn't want to risk injury. And with that weight, falling out of position, you're probably not going to hit it anyway. So that was my lifting cue. was mostly feel the weight, don't get hurt. Not flat out aggressive, not this means everything. Lift the weight, don't get hurt. Not really the mind frame you want to go in if you're actually going to attempt to max, but given that I only had one session preparing for this at 420 kilos, it would be completely inappropriate to try to get in a battle with a weight that's 85 kilos heavier. Now, I went up to the bar. I felt pretty good. I pulled it, and I was a little bit surprised that it came off of the ground, and I actually managed to get it to my knee. When I watched the video, I stopped that lift while it was still moving up. I felt the acceleration of the bar decline. I believe I could have got it over my knee if I fought it, but I think I would have been absolutely gassed and definitely risking injury to an unreasonable extent. Now, I think this was the closest anyone's ever been to 505. And I was walking Vegas the day before, 20,000 steps. I had blisters on my feet. I only had one session in my deadlift suit. I didn't have supplementation at a point after Strongest Man on Earth that I would expect to be capable of anywhere near this. But somehow, confusingly, I'm defying the odds even that I set for myself. And I think I'm relatively confident. I get critiqued on my confidence. I didn't think I had any chance. I was asked in the press conference beforehand. I sort of passed it off. I passed it off twice because I thought that there was absolutely no way. But there is. More on that in the video tomorrow. So that was event one. Trey and I tied 470 kilo max deadlift. That works out to roughly 1,035 pounds. Event number two was the car walk. I was hoping to break the car walk record, which was 10 seconds flat. I had the privilege of going last. Trey, with his recovery from his Achilles, I knew would be slightly slower on this. And at this stage, Evan Singleton was quite slow with it. Tom Stoltman was relatively slow. There was no one vying for the title for the whole show that had really pushed the time. So I decided to go a somewhat conservative approach on this. And how this car is set up, I had my hands on these posts that are inside, but halfway through the car walk, I slipped and it ended up on my wrists. But that actually felt way better. Now, next time I do the car walk, I know that I can improve on that time. I would say I went at about 85 to 90% speed. Like I said, my feet were blistered and sore from walking around Vegas the day before. I didn't give myself the best chance of breaking this record, and I definitely know that I'm capable of it. I finished with a time of 10.6. The world record is 10 seconds flat by Mateusz. So that was a victory in that event. Eddie Williams, great time, 13.5 seconds, coming in second. And Trey Mitchell, shockingly, coming in third, less than 12 months after an Achilles injury. The event after this was the Dumbbell For Reps, and this was at 100 kilos. At this stage, Evan Singleton pulled out. He had a bit of a back injury, which he is saying is not a big deal. Tom Stoltman pulled out with sciatica, something that's been bothering him, stretching back to the Arnold of this year. So hopefully those two guys can rest up, heal, and be at 100% for the Rogue Invitational. So we were left with 8 competitors at this stage. I, again, was able to see everyone go. Monster Dumbbell, not one of Eddie Williams' strongest events, so I knew the number to beat, and that was 7. I was rolling through these reps, and I felt so comfortable with the 100 kilo. It just did not feel heavy to me whatsoever. And I was frustrated at the end of this event. The number to beat was 7. I locked out the 7th, and I went to go pick up the dumbbell again. I knew I had 8, no problem, but I ran out of time. And I was very frustrated with myself, not because the half a point really mattered, but because I very rarely miss time and miss pace events. And this is a case where I just did. In hindsight, instead of dropping the dumbbell and then regathering and going, I think I should have done the first 3 or 4 in a very quick touch and go fashion, like when Mateusz did this and he got 10 reps on the same dumbbell. I think that's the only way to increase the number of reps. But good news, Monster Dumbbell is in a really good place. Now, Trey and I tied for the win on this, and at this stage, we were both pulling away. I was 2 points ahead of him, and we're going into the wrecking ball hold, where I knew I would gain a few more points on him. Alexei broke the world record before I was up in the wrecking ball at 2 minutes and 8 seconds. I very publicly hate this event. I don't think it's the best test of strength. It's certainly not grip strength. It simply just pins your fingers against your thighs, and it's like who can tolerate hook grip on all of their fingers for the longest period of time. I was with Trey. I was watching Trey for half of the event, just seeing how he was going, and I knew that there was a chunk of times between 120 and 132. I wanted to get past them to get second place and then secure good points for the event. I ended up doing that a time of 133. Second place, I gained 3 more or 4 more points on Trey, going to the stones with a reasonable lead. Unlike the last 2 Giants live shows, I actually had to do the last event. At this stage in the competition, Alexei Novikov had pulled out. He was puking up blood after the wrecking ball hold. Thankfully, it was blood from his nose that was coming back, and it was not a serious health concern. Iron Bibi pulled out. Full disclosure, I don't know why. It's well documented that he doesn't like Atlas stones. It's hard because I think he's a great dude for sure, but and no one's obliged to come do full contests. No one's obliged to do anything, but I have a problem with people who go back on their word, and it feels like that, which is not ideal for the sport, not ideal for the fans. I personally find it a little bit frustrating. If you're going to come join us, do the full show, let's do the full show. If you just want to do one lift, just do one lift, but just say what you're going to do, come do it. That's my opinion. That left 6 people, meaning I had to beat 1 person in the Atlas zones to secure the victory. Trey Mitchell was a good handful of points behind, but still within striking distance. This is a really strange ending for me. I really needed to do 3 Atlas stones to win. That's not a problem for me. Tackied up as best I could, went to lift the first stone, and I slipped on the first stone, which is really bizarre. But then I extended it up and went to push it, and it was so stuck to my shirt that I kept pulling it back down onto myself. I actually had to press it onto the platform. Same thing happened on the second stone, but stones 3, 4, 5 were actually easier for me than stones 1 and 2. Something to work out there, and I have to be hypercritical of myself at this stage to continue to have the drive to progress. And that's one of those things. I got to figure out my stone runs. Potentially I'll have to build something for myself. I don't have that right now. To do a stone run, I could just do single stones with tacky. Maybe that's something I have to consider to be completely confident with every single event that could be thrown at me. But the ultimate outcome was I lifted all 5 stones, and we've got another trophy to add to the collection. I'll have to find a spot for that sometime in the near future. Now, just reflecting on my career so far, that is my 20th podium in a row. That was a big milestone that I wanted to hit. 20 podiums in a row. That's 20 of 21. Of course, I missed the podium at my first World's Strongest Man. And yeah, I'm really, really proud of my consistency. I went on Strongman Archives. I'm trying to stop and smell the roses a little bit more. I've done that very seldom up to this stage. In my career, I've been in the top 3 in 104 out of 138 events. That's 78%. And I've won 46 out of 138 events, and that's 33%. Now, in my first 4 pro shows, I didn't win any of them. After those first 4, I've won 12 out of 17 shows, and my average place is 1.47. So I'm more likely to win than anything else when coming to these shows. Now, just in 2024, of events that have had an impact on placing, I am top 3 in 35 of 38, which is 92%, and 20 out of 38 events I've competed in, I have won. That's 53%, and that's resulted in 6 wins so far in 2024. I have the potential to sweep a Giants live if I win the World Tour Finals in Scotland in a few weeks, and the potential to win 6 of 8 major shows in the past 2 years if I am to come out on top at the Rogue Invitational, only beaten by Brian at Strongest Man on Earth last year and Tom at World's Strongest Man this year. Now, I look at this type of stuff now because I need to have these metrics, these statistics to continue to have that innate drive to improve and to try to beat myself in improving these numbers. I want to start pushing up this all-time list. I want to continue to hit PBs and continue to improve myself as a strongman, so long as I'm loving the sport, which at the moment I am, and I'm finding a new joy in competing without putting undue pressure on myself that I was feeling for a handful of shows. Now, I also want to do things I didn't think I could do before. And that's how strongman started for me, is learn strongman to inspire other people to do things they couldn't do before in my professional life. And now I can show people how to do that in competitions and in front of thousands. And hopefully that translates over to accomplishing the same goal. On that list, 505 deadlift. Stay tuned for a video tomorrow where I'm making a big announcement. And I think a 500-pound axle cleaner press is certainly in my wheelhouse. And then we'll just see. My log press is getting better all the time. I think I'd be capable of about 220 right now. Could I push up into Bibby's record territory? I'm not putting it past myself at this stage. And we'll see everything else that comes along. I'll keep training hard. I continue to absolutely love to compete. I want to add to this trophy room and continue doing my thing. If you want to support me and other people along that journey, the link to my merch, Lift Heavy, Be Kind, is down in the description. Help people feel more comfortable in the gym. The gym is a place for everyone. It is a place for everyone to objectively improve themselves, which to me is an underpinning of mental health. Let's be a part of cultivating good mental and physical health. And if you're lost in your training, I've linked my programs in the description and in the pinned comment as well. If you have nothing to say, please leave a moose dropping and subscribe to the channel. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I still cannot digest what my life has become. I do not understand why I have been so blessed with this gift of physical strength. The best that I can do is try to continue to pay it forward by providing you education and entertainment to be healthier in body and in mind. Thank you very much for watching. Until tomorrow, lift heavy and be kind.